So good work so far, and we're getting there. I don't know if you sometimes feel like when you're trying to do a puzzle and it really seems like there's no answer. I don't know if you've ever had that. And you're looking at it and you know there's an answer. And you know it's probably some elegant combination that you haven't thought of, you know. And then when it finally fits together, oh. So we're looking for that oh. Now it's possible that you managed to do this without fully understanding it. That's possible too. And so we obviously want to seek to understand it. And the way we're going to seek to understand it is ask ourselves, what is each variable? If you're not quite sure what each variable is, these are the questions that you need to ask yourself. For instance, we know that CPOP is a dictionary. The question next is, what is S-keys? And the question there, as always, will be, what is its type and what is its value? I'm putting it here in the margin. This is why I recommend that when you're working, if you're not quite sure what's happening, that you print it out and then take that and paste it in the margin so you can see. It should be reasonably clear that S-keys is a list of the keys. You see, when you put it in the margin this way, even before you're turning in your homework, you're reminding yourself, and then you won't have to remember that part right away. You know, you'll have it right in front of you. If we're looping through the sorted list of keys, we're getting each item in S-keys, then country will be Brazil, and then it'll be China, right? And then it'll be India. So country is a string, and it's each country. But then the real trick was realizing that if I have the key, I'm going to use CPOP, the dictionary, to get the value. I'm going to use the dictionary lookup syntax that we've learned. So that's the key to sorting a dictionary and printing out each value, type and value. And while we're here, I may as well show you the simple syntax to sorting a dictionary by value. In other words, it's not actually normally what we would want to see these countries in alphabetical order. We might want to see them in alphabetical order. A lot of times you do, right? But a lot of times you'll see countries ranked by the value, right? So we'll see the biggest first, then the next biggest. Did you know the U.S. is the third most populous country? I didn't know that for the longest time. I somehow thought, like, I don't know, Russia, but right? Okay, so anyway, it's the third by far. And we make most of the pollution. So we eat the most hamburgers. So we want to sort this by value. So let me show you to sort it by value, because we'd like to, this is actually sorted by value, so that's not too helpful, is it? It'd be better if it was out of order. But still, let's assume that it wasn't, or we had a much larger list. I'm going to show you the syntax. Now, we're not going to be able to explain the syntax. We're just going to need to, or let's take off the reverse so we can see that it's sorting. We want to remember this syntax in terms of what the variables are. The get will stay the same. The key equals will stay the same. This variable will obviously change. This is the name of our what? Our dictionary, yeah. So we put the name of our dictionary here. We say key equals, we say comma, key equals dictionary.get. And if we do that, we will find that the countries will come out from lowest to highest. So it's Brazil first, Indonesia next, Asia next.
Did you say that the key remains the same?
Which key?
Key equals?
Key equals will always be there, yeah.
Okay,
It'll always be key. And actually, are you getting an error? Might be getting an error. This keyword key is actually unrelated to dictionaries, actually, and I wish it was called something else, but it just happens to be what you do. Are you getting an error of some sort? Or it's not?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I was thinking that you would put it in the print statement. That seemed intuitive to me, but.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see. That you might put in .get or key?
The key is equal to cpop.get.
Oh, that you put that in the print statement. No, yeah.
That's
What it's doing, what these two things are doing, and by the way, you can use reverse by itself. What these two special arguments are doing to the function are they're helping to change the way the function works.
So this is how you would always do it, to sort it in number order.
In value order. Value order. Whatever the values are. These happen to be numbers. But what it's doing is, when we say by get, what we're saying is, when you sort these, it's still going to sort these countries, but it's going to look at the value and say, let's sort them by their value. So Brazil will come first and Indonesia second. It's going to sort them by their values. I mean, you could try, for example, to change China to a 0, and you'll see it comes first as the lowest.
Reverse gets it. What does the reverse mean?
Reverse means it's going to just reverse the order. In other words, it'll be highest to lowest instead of lowest to highest. Reverse also works with regular sort, too. I mean, we could try that right now with just a regular list. Now, I'm not explaining how these work. I'm showing you the syntax. I'm showing you that, reverse equals true will reverse the sort, right? Make it from lowest to highest, or highest to lowest rather than lowest to highest. And if you use this syntax under an argument and say key equals dictname.get, it will sort a dictionary by value. Now, that's not something that we really can go into how that works, although I'm willing to explain it to any of you individually. But it's not something that I can explain very easily. It's actually something that I finally moved into the advanced class because it's the hardest thing that we would teach in this class if I taught it in this class. But I would be happy to explain it at any point.
So, question. So that only works if all of them are integer?
True. Integers and floats would work as well. If you did have a string in here, it would not be able to compare a string to an int, and it wouldn't be able to sort. Because it's sorting. Sorting is about comparing, right? Compare China and India, which comes first, right? Compare China to US, which comes first?
So it could sort.
I'm sorry?
It could sort strings.
It can sort strings among themselves, correct. And it could also sort integers among themselves, or integers and floats. But it unfortunately you can't say is 5 greater than A. It just won't do that. So yeah, then you would have an error.
But if they were all strings.
That's right. Yeah, so if we had a dict of all strings, in fact, maybe we should just try that and work with a simple example. Questions right now? Okay, let's see if we can sort the keys, print the list of sorted keys. It's another number one, so let's not work with that one. Let's go down below this one, below 5.8, and here's what I'd like you to do. Click inside the cell and do insert cell below. Insert cell below. Insert cell below, and that'll make a new cell. Click in that cell. Let's make a very simple dictionary. A is G, and X is, X is B. Now this may be too confusing, I'm not sure. And let's print sorted X. Or I tell you what, let's just say S keys equals sorted X, print S keys, and then we'll play with this. So I'll give you a second. Go ahead, if you would. please. Now we always want to remind ourselves what we have. So I would put this in the, it's going to change, but that's what we get, right? We get a list of keys. Now let's try reversing this sort. Not even trying to sort by value. Let's reverse this sort. I'm sorry, reverse equals true. X and A. It sorts in reverse order when we say reverse equals true. It's still sorting the keys, though. It was AX, because that makes sense. Sorting the keys is A and X. Now it's X and A, because we reversed it. Any questions so far? Now this isn't just related to dictionaries. This could be a list of integers. It could be a set of names. It could be anything. Reverse will simply reverse the order. It's simple enough. It just reverses the order. On the other hand, let's take out reverse equals true, and let's just say key equals. Do you remember the syntax? We're going to say dict name. What's your dict name? X dot get. And now I've got XA. But that's not because I reversed it. It's because I'm now sorting by the value. Which value comes first between B and G? B, right? So that's why the list is X and then A. Key equals dict.get sorts by value. Key equals dict.get sorts by value.
Basically, the important part of that is .get, because that everything else changes from like project to project.
What do you mean?
Key would be called something else elsewhere. X would be called something else elsewhere.
That's exactly right. Yes, the key equals and the get, those don't change. Right, exactly. What does change is the variable name that you're working with, whatever variable you're working with. At this point, I feel like we should review. Any questions so far?
What would be an example of something you'd receive as a dictionary and not like a CSV file? How does that work?
Well, normally you would build the dictionary. This is a good segue to the next part. You would build the dictionary from a data source, the same way we built a list from the data source.
Is a dictionary in Excel?
No, a dictionary is our fourth container. And we can either initialize it directly, or we can build it up from a file, the same as a list or a set. So yeah, generally we'll start with an empty dictionary, and we'll build it up from a file.
Manually? Like as you're gathering information? Or?
Yeah, exactly. The same way we did when we looped through the Fava French, and you're appending values to the list. That's in session 4. Rather than, let's say, counting or adding a sum up, you're looping and appending, and building up this list. It gets bigger and bigger. We're going to do that with a dict next, yeah. Which is a good segue, because that's what we're doing now, I think. Any questions? All right, so let's review. one thing I'm trying to work on is have the exercises that we do in class be the only exercises and have them basically be the narrative of the class. And in this one, I think it's working pretty well. The narrative of the class is this. Look, here's a dictionary. Dictionaries are key value pairs. A dictionary is a lot like a list in a lot of ways. You can for loop over it. You can get the len of it. We haven't done it yet, but you can check for membership. And what I said was that anytime you do any of those containery things like looping or subscripting, it's all about the key. It's always about the key. After we said that, we then started looking at drawing a value out of the dictionary. So I know it was like 2 years ago, but remember when we did this? We used the key to get the value, and we used a literal key to get the value because that's how we started. Get the literal key to get the value. And then I pointed out that you could use a variable. I took it out of this, but you could use a variable to get the value. And this is us looping through the dictionary. For each key in the dict, here's the key, and then we get the value by saying dict subscript key. That was the next thing we did. Then we learned about sorting. And it was just about sorting the keys and doing this, making this connection between the list of keys and the fact that we could use that list of keys to loop through the dictionary. For each key in the sorted list of keys, print the key and the value from the dictionary. So that was the next thing we did. So not that many things, but it's conceptual. There's a lot of conceptual. Then finally I said, well, a lot of times when we want to sort these things, we're not going to sort them by name usually. We'll usually sort them by value. Because if you have, let's say, the top 1,000 companies in their market caps, we're going to want to see the biggest one first. Because that's American capitalism. So that's what got us into sorting and then the variations of sorting. You can sort by value, and you can also reverse the sort. And that's where we are now. Initializing a dictionary, getting a value out, sorting the keys, and looping through the sorted keys and getting each value. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is build. I don't know why I've got the same question over and over again. Print the value. It's the same question. Okay. Now, there's one thing that I'll show you just really briefly, but I don't know that it's going to be that important. So I'm going to skip over it, 13 and 14. All right, here's what we're going to do now. We're going to begin by building up a dictionary. Now, first off, before you do anything, please put a ... in front of the file name. This is 515. 515. Please put a ... in front of your file name.
Why do you do that again?
I'm sorry?
Why do you do that again?
Oh, it's because the notebook or the exercise file is one directory above where the file is. The file is in the main directory, and exercises is in another folder in the same directory as the file. So you have to say, go to the parent for this file. That's what ... means. It means go to the parent. Make sure to use a /, not a \, please. /. Any questions? Okay. Now we could run this just to make sure we don't get an error. Maybe we should find out who's getting an error. You won't see anything, so maybe we should print hi and just show that you can run it and not get an error. If you're getting an error, then you got to check your ... because this file's there.
Doesn't work.
What are you getting? File not found error? Got a ... Is it a /?
Never mind.
Okay. Anyone else? I'm printing hi just to show that it runs. I mean, if you run it without error, then you're fine. Questions so far? Okay. I guess for this next section, I'm going to start a new tape.